Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2020 film The Droving. Now this is a film that dabbles in a few different genres. It's a bit of a thriller, a bit of a mystery and a bit of a horror. And it is a film that is co-written by George Popov and Jonathan Russell. And it is directed by George Popov. And they, a couple of years ago, brought to us a film called Hex that I reviewed on this channel, and this is the follow-up movie, and it stars Daniel Oldroyd, Bobby Robertson and Amy Tiger. Now this is an interesting film that follows Martin. Now Martin is recently left the military after 5 years. He worked as an interrogator abroad, highly skilled, highly trained, and he's come to this small rural UK town to try and find out what happened to his sister 1 year previously, who went missing hiking in this small rural town, and it was the night before the annual Droving Festival. However, during his investigation he discovers that there are still some that believe in the ancient rituals associated with this festival, and he's trying to figure out what happened to his sister. So that's the basic story that we get here with this film. Now, what are my thoughts on The Droving? Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was really nicely made, a really interesting idea. And it was beautifully shot with very nice cinematography as well. It really highlights like the rural UK, and it was just a really gripping story. And all I kept thinking about watching this film, I mean, one of my favourite UK films is Dead Man's Shoes, and this film felt very much like Dead Man's Shoes crossed with Wicker Man, and it was done really nicely. You've got this really tortured guy desperate to find out what happened to his sister, and investigating the whole area, and you get to learn by watching his interrogation skills and just how good he is. There are some difficult to watch interrogation scenes, one in particular when he's interrogating this hermit that was he suspects might have something to do with his missing sister. A really fantastically shot and constructed sequence that was really intense to watch, and really nicely done. And it's one of those films that gets more dark and sinister as the film progresses, and initially it's more like a thriller, and then it starts dabbling its toes into the more horror genre as the film goes on. And it's just, the story keeps it going forward here, because you want to know, you want him to find answers as to what happened to his sister, and you get flashbacks as well, so that you've got a connection with this sister. You get the occasional flashback, very much like Dead Man's Shoes, where you got flashbacks in that to his brother and things. You get flashbacks here as well in regards to him and his relationship with his sister. So you've got a face, you know, you've got an association with this sister. You know who she is, you know the connection, you know the bond, so you understand why he's so driven. And I think that was a really clever move. I'm not usually a big fan of flashbacks. Some in quite a lot of films they don't work and they're filler. I think it did work here because you really got to know the sister a little bit, and you wouldn't necessarily have cared if you just had a picture and he was showing the picture, and we'd never met this sister. I don't think it would have had the same impact. So it was a clever move to do that, to do the flashbacks, and it did really work. The music score was really foreboding as well. It really added another ingredient to the film. You could never relax watching this film, because you could feel that something dark was going to happen, or you could feel that it was getting darker as the movie was going on, and the film score kind of reflected that as well, which I really enjoyed. Initially it just starts with him, you know, asking locals questions and people associated with his sister, like the walking hiking group she was associated with and things like that, and it was very light and lots of daylight and things like that. And there's a lovely sweeping scene at the beginning of the film of him walking through this rural town. It was very beautifully shot. So it starts off quite light, and then gets darker and more intense as the film goes on, as he learns more about what happened to his sister, and you learn as well how skilled he is. You know, there's a red herring scene thrown at you, and you learn about his skills and his organisational skills from the military, because he prepares. There's a scene where he prepares in his car. He expects to be visited by some locals, and he prepares it expertly. Initially, when I was watching that scene, I'm thinking, what on earth is he doing? This doesn't make sense. And it made perfect sense. It was a very well thought out scene about someone very organised, from the military, very prepared as to what they would do if they were expecting to be ambushed, or expecting to be paid a visit by somebody. It was really clever scene, because it made no sense to me when you saw him actually preparing for it, but it made complete sense when it actually played out the way he expected it to. So from my perspective, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It's a massive step up from the last film that I watched, and I enjoyed that as well, Hex. I'm giving this film an 8 out of 10. It is definitely worth checking out if you get the opportunity. It's low budget, yes, but it's really cleverly made. Some interesting performances, a familiar story that's got its own lovely twist to it, that I think most will appreciate. Now, it's just a shame this film was due to be released quite soon, but it's been delayed now because of the coronavirus, so I will be reminding everybody when this is actually released a bit further down the line. So definitely please put this on your watch list. It's one to watch when it is released, and I will remind you of when that is the case. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'll see you back for more reviews on Screen Stars very, very soon.